Hello, everybody, and happy Monday, and welcome to episode 25 of the PWBA Podcast. My name is Aaron Smith, and joining me today for today's chat with 2012 USBC Queens champion Diandra Asbaty is the one, the only, the bowling guy, Jason Thomas.
Hello. I thought you were going to introduce me as Diandra Asbaty.
I thought about it for a second.
I think that's an insult to her. Big time. We don't want to do that.
No,
don't leave Diandra before we even bring you on the show.
See, that's what I get for my first intro. So. But JT, welcome to the PWBA Podcast. It's awesome for you to join us here today. So, we've had a week off. We had the holiday. So how have things been with you, good sir?
Pretty good. Kind of a strange 4th for us. We like to go watch fireworks, and we tried to go do it this weekend, and we went in the car as a family. And my daughter, who's 11, said, "Hey, it's been like 5 months since we've been in the car together." And I was like, "Yeah, it has. It's crazy." So we have we're in Texas, so a lot of new regulations in Texas as far as social distancing and whatnot. So we drove around. Everywhere we looked that might be a good place was busy, and nobody had masks on. So we just kind of kept driving around, and we saw fireworks from our car, and then just drove home. So it was a little odd, but we were together as a family. So I guess that's the most important thing, right?
Certainly so. I actually I left the DFW area for a week. So I got out of it. As I mentioned, I was actually in Reno, Nevada for a little bit there. So they actually had some concerns with forest fires there. So they actually kind of tamed down all the 4th of July activities, along with obviously social distancing. So it was definitely a different vibe, but certainly it was nice to get away and do something a little bit different. And but now we're back to the grindstone, as they say. And
it's a pretty easy grindstone, though.
It is. It is. This is definitely one of the fun parts each and every week for us. So with that, are you ready, JT? Should we bring her in?
We should. Yes.
All right, folks. Here she is, Diandra.
What's up?
Hello.
Hey, Dee, how you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you guys? Are you matching today? Are you both wearing purple?
It's more of a royal blue, I think. But yeah.
I'll call it navy just to be different. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And obviously, first thing we usually like to do on the podcast is just check up, see how you've been doing. How's the family doing over in Chicago? How you guys been staying busy?
Yeah, man, what a year, right? 2020, one for the books. Our family is as healthy and happy, and I'm grateful for that. I will say that quarantine was crazy. I mean, you know me, I think you guys have known me long enough to know that I have a lot on my plate. I have a lot of things that I do. I'm always busy. I'm always going places. I'm picking up the kids. I'm dropping them off. I'm practicing. I'm working out. I'm running my elite youth tour. I am doing so much that all of a sudden I couldn't do anything. And in March, I was like the first couple, and I'm a very, very much an extrovert. And so I like being out with people. I like my friends, and Chicago is amazing. I like going out in Chicago. And the first couple of weeks I was like, I want to be around other people. I love my family. And that was one thing.
Uh-oh.
This is an uh-oh moment.
Yeah.
And I'm back.
Oh,
okay.
All right.
Okay. I had a question. You talked about just all of your, I don't really want to jump right into the interview, but I had I think a question that was relevant to what you just said.
Yeah.
When you fill out like an application for something, what do you put as your occupation?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I will say whatever I do put, I'm like, well, that's not it. That's not all I am. I do typically put professional bowler. Okay. Or coach, or I don't know. Yeah, it's a really good question. But being in this quarantine, the number one thing that I realize is I'm very, very grateful that I love my family, because I loved being with them so much and every day.
Thank goodness in my case too.
Right. So for the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh man, I really want to be with other people and I just want to go out. But then I will tell you that quarantine changed me. I all of a sudden woke up in the morning and thought, wow, I have no choices. I don't have to go anywhere. I knew exactly what I was going to work on. And I worked on it every day from the time I woke up till the time probably around 6 p.m. So I had one focus besides making sure the kids were okay in their homeschool thing that was happening. But it was very weird. It's the first time in my life where I didn't have choices. And then I became, I don't know, I kind of liked it in a way because I was really able to narrow my focus on one thing besides my family and get things done. So I would say for as weird as it was, I think that we all can kind of self-reflect in that time and come out of it a little bit differently and hopefully better.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people, because they aren't commuting and doing some of the other things that they weren't doing, they have a little extra time. Like for me personally, one of the things I've been doing, and it kind of goes to a question we'll have later, which is what are you binge watching? But I went on the AFI website and I saw their 100 greatest movies of all time, and I realized I had seen less than half of them.
Ooh.
And I actually consider myself a movie buff.
Okay.
So I've been trying to catch up on that list. I know Chad Murphy, one of the things he's been doing is he's trying to learn how to play the piano.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and his son is teaching him. So that's kind of an interesting
dynamic. I'm curious, which movie surprised you the most?
I am so ashamed of the fact that I had only seen about 45 of the 100. But probably the best one I've seen since I started looking was Bridge on the River Kwai.
Ooh.
It was unbelievable. What an unbelievable movie. You just can't make a movie like that nowadays. And just from the set pieces to they have this giant bridge that they built for the movie, and it's just so gorgeously shot. The cinematography is amazing. And it stars someone from Star Wars, Sir Alec Guinness. So, you can't go wrong there.
That's so cool. Yeah. Aaron, what have you been doing?
Podcasting.
Working.
I think that's been the biggest thing for me because we travel a lot with work. So, I always thought I should be better at working at home. And I always struggled so much with that. And, even when we were kind of had the regular schedule and it was going to be like, hey, I got to work on this project over the weekend. Like I would leave the house. I would actually go into the office, be the only one there just because I like the structure of it all. So obviously that changed very quickly and I had to learn how to work here, and to double it, I have to work in the same house as Matt Cannizzaro. So that made it that much more fun. But, we really found a great balance, and, I found a way to kind of manage time better. So I really used it as a learning experience just to kind of get used to a different situation, which I kind of had to regardless. But yeah, I think that's been kind of the biggest takeaway is just managing time a little bit differently, finding ways to get a little bit more stuff done too. So
yeah, at the beginning of it all, I had this empty journal and it was blank. And so I was like, oh, you know what? I've never been in quarantine before, so I'm gonna just write about it. And really with the intention of giving it to my kids one day so that they can remember this time. Like, what did we do? How did we live? And so I started it, and actually started it right after the last PBA event where Jason won $150,000. The plan was that his whole family came to Chicago, and that was the last day that restaurants were open. And so we celebrated his whole family, his wife and his kids and my kids. It was going to be so much fun to come to Chicago. So he came, and I'm like, dude, all the restaurants are closing the day after you get here. We have to go at least to one. And so we went, we celebrated, and then we spent, they had to cut their trip short, obviously, because they didn't want to get stuck and not be able to get back. But we had like 3 or 4 good days of just having fun at home, because everything that was on my list that I wanted to do with them and I thought his kids would love wasn't an option. Everything was closed. So after they left, I started writing in the
Diandra, I think he froze on us again.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So unfreeze.
I'm back. So after they left, I got my journal and I started then, and I had no idea that it was going to be 90 days later. that I would be still writing in it. And so,
yeah, it's going to turn into a book. No, I'm not being funny. I actually wrote a book myself, and that's how it started.
Oh, really?
And it was like, I need to write down who I am, because if something happens to me, my kids will know, what my life philosophy was, and so I ended up, it turned into a book. I published it.
Where can we get it?
It's on Amazon.
Ooh, yeah. What's the name of it?
It's called Living the Dream.
All right. I'm going to get that so I can stalk you.
Is it living with a G or is it an apostrophe?
No, it's apostrophe.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch. I like that.
Yeah. So I want my kids to know how to speak colloquially, but, yeah, that's what it was. It was like, it was really for my kids and also for myself. So it was kind of like a blueprint, if I had, was confused about making a decision, I would have a life philosophy that would guide me. And I've used it ever since. So.
That's amazing. And I think it's so cool to be able to like kind of go back in time with how you were thinking at that moment. And what was like, were you, when I was writing, I was writing about how I really hope my kids remember this 2020 quarantine with all the positives that are around it, because there's so much negative and there's so much to be worried about. And I don't want them to look back on it and remember how scared they were, but I want them to remember how much love was in our house and how much fun we had together despite everything that was going on. And you kind of like, it stops time and you're able to write it and then revisit it. And I think that is, and
there are a few things I'm embarrassed about what I wrote, just like I don't, things I've changed, viewpoints that have changed, or, positions that I was like, but
that was you then though.
Yeah. But the overarching thing, and I think you have a really great attitude about life and an optimistic attitude. I really think that's something that people beyond just your kids would be interested in hearing about and reading. So anyway, I know you've got a lot on your plate, but there's one more business idea for you.
I do want to write a book.
I'd buy it.
Thank you.
There we go. I like it.
Aaron, you wouldn't?
It depends on what the title is.
I thought you were going to say, depends on if you give it to me.
Oh, Aaron, no, I would buy it.
Aaron reads a book by its cover. His parents never told him, don't read a book by its cover.
Well, speaking of your many endeavors, obviously, we talked about the Elite Youth Tour, and there's something new. I'm going to let you define it, but Beyond the Lanes, tell us a little bit more about that. Of course, the Elite Youth Tour as well, but I was kind of looking at your website yesterday, and the Beyond the Lanes, and especially the academy portion of it, looks super interesting for young players, and you really are a great ambassador for youth bowling. So tell us a little bit about that, kind of where that came from, and what are some of your goals with all that? Yeah,
cool. Thanks. So at the beginning of this year, I feel like anytime it turns to be a new year, I assess what's next. What am I going to do? And I think that's normal because it's like the beginning of the new year. Not so much resolutions, but more of like what is next. And so the beginning of this year is about February. I was really struggling with like, okay, I feel like I have a lot to give. I have a lot. That was yesterday. Check that out. EYT yesterday. It looked really different. We social distanced and had to have 2 squads, and we were the kids did not have to bowl in the masks, but they did have to wear them if they left the settee. But it's funny. So I was just assessing.
JT, what'd you do?
I don't know. I'm just I have the schlep rock touch.
I feel like I'm here to serve in a lot of ways, and I was just wondering at the beginning of this year, like what is next? And it kind of came to me that I was able to achieve world champion status, but not just because of all of the coaches and the work that I put in on the lanes. That was a part of it, and it was a very important part of it. But I truly believe the reason that I was able to get to a world champion status is the work that I put into myself beyond the lanes. And it was the self-awareness element. It was authenticity. It was goal setting. It was problem solving. It was how to be a good teammate. It was all of these things that came together that allowed me to also stand out when I was competing. And so I knew in February, I'm like, I've also thought that I've always wanted to write a book that was titled Everything That I Learned About Life, I Learned on the Lanes.
I would buy that book, by the way.
Thanks. Okay, good.
Good time.
All of the most important lessons in life I've been taught through bowling. And so I wanted to create my own curriculum based on those stories and based on all of the lessons that I learned. And I want to be able to teach bowlers, but also I don't even think you have to be a bowler, because it's really about being a good human and being a better person and reflecting beyond what you do in life. And so I hired a leadership psychologist to help me organize my thoughts. So this is not something I slapped together. I have a lot of ideas, but I wanted to make sure that I was presenting it in the right way. So I hired her, and she helped me comb through all of the lessons and put it together in a curriculum, and it's Beyond the Lanes. And actually the website went live today. It's beyondthelanes.com. And it's because what was there was sort of like advertising. I did a free masterclass that will eventually be on this site. I still need to transfer it. And then I opened my very first Beyond the Lanes Academy, where at a time, and it's so appropriate, at a time where people could not go bowling, I gave them at least a way to strengthen themselves beyond the lanes that would directly influence them on the lanes. And so I didn't know how it would go, because a lot of people have lost their jobs, or they're dealing with all of this COVID stuff. So I was really happy with the turnout, and we're already tomorrow night, it'll be week 5 out of 6. Mm-hmm. And everybody seems really happy. And it's the first time I'm ever teaching it in this way. And I'm excited because eventually I want to do workshops, and I want to be able to go to junior gold and kind of like, be another way for these kids to get better at bowling, and but not focus on lanes, because I feel like I'm a good coach on the lanes, but nobody's really ever talked about everything that happens beyond, and the goal setting and the failing, and how failing is going to allow you to win, and how to deal with different personalities on a team, and all the things that I've had to deal with in my life. And I really truly feel like this is what I'm meant to do, and this is where I should be. So thank you for allowing me to talk about it, because I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I always felt like, and part of what I write about in my book is similar, but if you took an athlete and a successful lawyer and a successful business person, and another athlete in a different sport, and you ask them, what were the keys that allowed them to succeed, they would probably all tell you the exact same things, right? I mean, there really isn't another way to be successful at something than what you just talked about, right?
Yeah.
And so, I always thought it was interesting, with respect to my work with PWBA, it was, why can't we get in front of companies and show these ladies and just put a presentation together that said, hey, if you want to be successful in your company, follow the example that these ladies have set, mm-hmm. Who are excellent in what it is that they do, right? And is that mm-hmm. kind of what you're thinking?
I would love to get into more corporate speaking, where I can talk from a world champion perspective, because I think when you put that behind it, people are like, oh, there's not a lot of world champions in the world in anything. And so here I am, and I do have something to say, and it is based on my experiences, and it wasn't always easy. And, I think one thing that I've realized when I've been doing a lot of self-reflection is that when people look at professional bowlers or world champions, they are like, they're just good. Right. And they don't realize what it took to get there, because they don't see the journey. They don't see the heartbreak. They don't see the tears or the crying on, the floor in front of my refrigerator because I didn't feel like I was good enough, because other people were telling me that I wasn't good enough. And they don't see any of that. They just see you on a pedestal, and they think, well, I can never achieve that because she's just good. But it's not that way. Right. You truly can be as good as you choose to be in anything. Right. And that's what I'm here to say. But I think I could take that beyond bowling into corporations, into a group setting, into a TED Talk.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's nobody, maybe Tiger Woods and Justin Bieber have a direct line from point A to point B, right? I mean, everybody else just gets, and I'm sure if you ask Tiger Woods and Justin Bieber, they'd say it wasn't a bowl of cherries getting to where they were. But it's never a straight line. It's just a constant process of getting knocked down and getting back up again, right?
Yeah, and tapping into your intuition and what that even means, and like there's just so much to it that I kind of wish somebody told me when I was younger, and especially like the college years and then right after, and I hope that I can be that person for many.
I have to say, JT, you win for the first Chumbawamba reference on the PWBA podcast. So you worked that in there. I don't know if you meant to do that or not, but that took me back.
It's always a first.
But Dee, I love the message there. And, you talk, and, we kind of referenced you as a youth ambassador, and you really do that a lot with the Elite Youth Tour. You mentioned you had the event this weekend. What does a socially distant tournament kind of look like for you guys now?
Yeah, it was really, number one, it was really important for me to make sure that everybody was safe and that we were following the guidelines of the state. And initially, when I put registration, the proprietor of the center contacted me after many months. It wasn't even on our schedule. And he's like, do you want to try this? We should be able to have 50% capacity. He has a big center. I was like, okay. So I put up my registration. And I told him, I'm like, you don't think things are going to change, right? Because I don't want to have to refund all these people. And he's like, no, I'm feeling like this is what they're telling us. This is what the state's telling us. Well, it turns out that instead of 50%, it was 50 people. And then it was supposed to be one squad. So literally 2 days before the event, I had to make a pivot and had to make a call, and I had to change the format. And that's it's a lot of work because there were 60 people that signed up, and I had to make sure every single one of them got my message. And it was right before holiday, so people had plans. But it ended up good. We cut it in 2 squads. We allowed them to bring one parent. Anybody that was in the bowling center had to wear a mask. If you were in the bowlers area, you did not. And you know what? Every single person in that bowling center abided by it. They respected it. Nobody wants to wear a mask. Like, let's be real. Like, it's not fun. You can't breathe. I had a hard time talking. I talked all day long. I feel like I kind of lost my voice because I was trying to project a little more than normal. So it's not fun for anyone. But I think, and what I told them in my announcements is that Illinois numbers started really bad in March, April, and they're getting a lot better. And I want to be on the side of helping them trend the right way. And I'm not interested in trying to go around rules or break rules. So if people aren't comfortable, then they just don't need to come. But every single person at center was so appreciative that we finally brought it back, and they thanked me. It was amazing. We had 2 squads, and I had to limit the field. There had to be a cutoff, but we gave 16 junior gold spots away.
Very awesome.
Very awesome. I am so proud of. You guys know, like, tournaments run their tournaments, but inside the tournament, there's another tournament.
Right.
And it's not, I want to help the USBC, so I want to qualify these kids, but also I'm trying to run my tournament. So it's a lot of work to do double, but we always do that, but we never do it for 2 squads, 2 sets. Like, there were 6 games. So we did games 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. I mean, we don't do that mainly because it's just complicated. What if somebody makes it the first squad and then they make it the second squad and I have to refund them? What if you have to prepay for the second squad before they start bowling? Like, there's a lot of rules, and it's just a lot. But for this one and for the coming ones, I want to push ourselves, because these kids, I'm sure they're anxious to bowl. A lot of the things that they were planning on bowling can't happen. So I really wanted to step up and give them opportunities to qualify for next year's junior gold. And I know they appreciated that, and it worked. I had an extra person there to make sure that ran smooth. And I'm so proud that we were able to qualify 16 people. And, there's something that started in 2012. And another thing I talk about in my Beyond the Lanes is that I always come up with ideas and I never know how to do them. But I've figured out that everything is figure outable. And in 2012, I was on a plane to the Queens, and I had an idea. I was by myself, and I was like, Jason Belmonte and I should start, because we were doing a lot of coaching together. I'm like, we should start a youth tour. And I landed, and I called him. I'm like, we should start a youth tour. And he was like, okay. Let's do it. We both we knew how to bowl tournaments. We didn't know how to run tournaments. So Jason was really instrumental in the beginning to help get the sponsors and get things running. He's not really involved anymore, but I'll always give him so much credit for helping me launch it together. But I didn't know how to do it. And I wanted it to be a nonprofit. It's a 501c3. I wanted it to be where people go to become better bowlers, but also leaders. And so I did, there we are. So I just figured out how to do it. And luckily with so many amazing sponsors like Storm and Turbo, who've been on from the beginning, and High Five Gear, we are able to run really professionally run events every month, usually. And we've given out over $230,000 in scholarships. And honestly, out of everything that I've done in my career, and I've done some really cool things, this is at the top. Like, this is what moves me, knowing that I can affect so many lives and influence them to go to college and to go to junior gold. And some of our bowlers have gone to junior gold, made Team USA, junior Team USA. There was a kid who Cameron Crowe, my bowler, Elite Youth Tour Bowler of the Year, the last couple of years. He came up to me 3 months before he bowled team trials, and he said, "Diandra, do you think I'm good enough to make junior Team USA? It's my first time going to team trials." And I said, I know that you're good enough, but you need to know that you're good enough, and you need to prepare for it, and you need to find the resources and make sure that you take it seriously. But you truly can make junior Team USA. What does he do?
Yeah,
he doesn't just make junior Team USA. He makes the adult Team USA and wins the national amateur champion. Yeah. So to be able to empower youth and to kind of help guide them in any way, it's like what I'm here to do. And I don't think I always knew that. I feel like, when I decided to have kids, I knew that my life was going to change and that there would be this pivot of, okay, things are going to look differently. And I feel like in bowling or in most sports, nobody really talks about women who were at the top of their game, taking a step back to have a family, and how to kind of understand that. Because it's not easy, because mentally, like, you're the same person, but we have to stop bowling. We get pregnant. Our bodies change. We have to deal with the after of, now I had the baby. Now I have to figure out how to be great. Because me, like, in my life, I want to be great at everything that I do. And so I put in the time, and I find the resources, and I find the coaching, and I do it. And so all of a sudden in 2010, I was feeling very mediocre at a lot of things. I felt like a mediocre mom. I felt like a mediocre bowler. I felt like a mediocre coach. It was the first time in my whole life that I was feeling that way. And I've never heard anybody in any sport really talk about that transition. And I think I can help others that will go through it too. But, I think that if somebody would have just told me at that time, like, it's actually okay. Like, you did such a great job. And you were, I came from, Aaron knows because he lives really close to where I grew up, Dyer, Indiana, small town girl with big dreams. When I was 12 years old, I remember thinking, I want to be one of the best bowlers in the world. And I remember the people in my town look at me like, who do you think you are, that you think you can be the best in the world at anything? But I was just crazy enough to believe that I could. And then I did. And so when you get to that level, I think something in your brain thinks that you are going to stay there forever. When you're in the midst of it, you're just like, this is what it's going to be like. And then when you make decisions in your life that show you differently, you're like, wait a second. Like, I decided to take a step back from Team USA because 15 straight years, like, I loved every moment of it. It was hard, and it was fun, and it taught me so much, but I didn't want to be gone for weeks at a time anymore. I wanted to be able to provide for my family and to be there and not miss moments. And so all of a sudden I started questioning my identity, and I was like, well, who even am I if I'm not Diandra Asbaty, Team USA? Like, who are people? What are they going to even think? And I mean, just being like super transparent and honest, like, it was hard to figure that out. And I just remember feeling frustrated. And then I won the Queens. And when I won the Queens in 2012, when Madden was 14 months or something, it was like I was able to give myself permission that it's okay, that your life is going to look different now. And you don't have to continue to strive to be the best in the world and feel like you're having an impact. And so then from that point on, in my early 30s, I decided that I'm going to
probably my favorite picture of all time.
Oh, thanks. Mine too, man. All of the emotions that are in that picture is like my life. My life's work is there.
Well, it's interesting because, everybody's happy when they win, right? But I'm sure there was a huge piece of you that was unfulfilled because there was no tour to compete on when you were in your prime, right? Before you had kids, when it was just you and bowling, you didn't get the opportunity to do it. So it's really interesting to hear that was kind of like your catharsis, I guess.
And it makes me kind of emotional just looking at that picture, because I think people see that picture and they're like, oh, she won her first major title. But for me, I look at it and it's like, I knew what I was going through at that moment. And I knew the pivot that I was making. And I knew that I had nothing to prove because I had already done so much. But to be able to win a major at a moment that was so hard for me in my career, because things were easy way before that. Like, I traveled most of the year. Luckily, I had a really supportive husband, and he worked a lot. So it wasn't, like when I got out of college, he worked a lot and I traveled a lot and I bowled a lot all around the world. And seeing this picture, I think that it is, if it is my last title ever, I'm okay with that. I think I could still win? Yeah. I mean, I'm super competitive. I want to still win, and I'll still try to compete and not do it full time. But, I was planning on bowling over half the stops. And I believe that with my experience, I could get there and I could win. I believe that. It's so much harder now because I'm not dedicating my entire life to being the best bowler in the world. But that picture in general and that moment is something I've never felt in my entire life, where after I won it, and I've never, full disclosure, I've never done drugs ever. But if I had, I think that's how it would feel.
Well,
in that case, maybe I should know.
Well, I mean, everybody has done drugs because that's how your brain works.
Right. So the high that I felt after I won that was I was like out of body. And I appreciate you appreciating that photo, because it was that's not something that you plan. Like, and I'm not a showy bowler. Like, I do my job. I don't overreact to shots. But after that, the winning shot, and I let out like a little scream, kind of when I watch it back, I'm like, oh God. But that was so real. That was like how I was feeling. And that moment when I was holding the check, I just like letting out that scream was like, it was some sort of high. I was in another world.
Major champion.
We got a clip of it.
Let's watch it.
This is a must-strike situation.
Every little girl's dream, stepping up in the 10th, strike to win first major.
2 deep breaths.
Yeah.
Hook.
Oh my goodness, there was some.
So I didn't know the score totally. I actually I didn't know that I still needed 7 pins.
7 pins away from the championship.
But I was like, just.
I mean, were you just shocked there that one carried?
I think I was just shocked that I had a chance to actually seal it, and I knew that if I struck again, that I would win. I knew that, but I didn't know that I didn't really even need a strike.
Well, was it kind of the realization, like, I think I'm going to win?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
It is appropriate that she has another strike. She has been brilliant all night. And Diandra Asbaty, her husband John.
Right before that first shot in the 10th, I remember standing on the approach, and I had this like vision of Madden at home. He was at home watching with my dad live, and I really feel like that was like the universe telling me, like, no matter what happens on the shot, it's okay. Like,
she was brilliant tonight.
Yeah, it was amazing. And to be able to bowl Carolyn for my first major was super special too, because obviously she's somebody that I looked up to, and to climb the ladder. And so here's what I want to say about that. Almost everyone knows that I won the 2012 USBC Queens, but what they don't know is in 2007 I made the Queen show. They don't remember that. And I led the 2007 Queens from start to finish. Qualifying, I was number one. And on the show, and I was double elimination, never lost a match. And then I got to the show. I remember it so vividly. I was offset and was warming up. Somebody had mentioned that they're really running over. So I don't know what happened in my brain, but when I got onto the show, I was bowling Kelly Kulik and another like obvious mentor of mine that I looked up to. And in that moment, I already believed that I won that tournament because nobody beat me from start to finish. And I bowled so well that it was just like a formality. Like, okay, I will just win this one more match and then get the tiara. And I read every mental game book that there was. And I talked to a sports psychologist, Dr. Dean Hinnitz. I talked to him before that match, actually. I was prepared. I was ready. I was mentally stable. And then I got on the show and I made every single mistake that you can make. I was never present. I was never myself. I stood up at the line. I worried about everybody watching at home, and I tried to not mess up. I missed spares, and then it was over. And there I was sitting in the chair watching Kelly Kulik get the tiara that I thought I deserved, and it should have been going on my head. And I was so heartbroken and humiliated. It was my first time on live TV.
I was going to ask that. I was just going to ask that.
Yep.
Because I mean,
it's a different animal.
Yeah.
And I all but fell down. I'm like, I literally made every mistake. And I wasn't as mad at losing because you can bowl good and lose, and that's easier to swallow. But I was so humiliated and so disappointed that everything that I've learned and I worked for was completely out the door. And I just couldn't believe it. And then the next day, a lot of people don't realize, the next day I had to go to the World Ranking Masters tournament with my mom. One female from the US got to go, and it was me. And I showed up. Jerry Edwards was my coach, and I literally still had tears in my eyes. And I'm not an overly emotional person. I can really kind of manage that. I showed up, and she looked at me, and she's just like, "Are you going to be okay?" And I was like, "I don't think so."
Wow. And
I was serious. And my poor mom, no matter what she said, it was the wrong thing. Like she was trying to be my mom, and I was just in a really bad state. So I practiced for the World Ranking Tournament with Jerry, super not focused. And I told her, I'm like, I don't know how to snap out of this. Like everyone's like, just use this tournament to prove that, and I was like, it is not that easy. You don't get to decide that. Like, how am I going to forget about what just happened and then focus on what's next? Because I didn't even have time to heal. Like my heart hurt. And I started the tournament, and I remember, I'll never forget, it was like first couple games, they had a scrolling huge screen, and I was towards the bottom. And I was like, what is happening? Like, who am I? And the second day, it was the same. And then something happened. The third day, I woke up very vivid memories, waking up in the hotel and breathing easier and thinking to myself, I'm going to be okay. Like, I'm okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because, this is one of the interesting things about having a tour, I think, is that I think when you have a tour and there's an event week after week, you just learn how to process things a lot faster. And you probably just needed some time to process it, because I know the most competitive people in the world, they have to process why something went wrong so that they can learn and move on and not be afraid of the next time it happens, right?
Exactly. So I woke up that morning and I was like, I could breathe. And then it flipped a switch in my bowling and I was able to be more focused. And then I won that tournament. And then I got home and I got to think about the Queens debacle. And I thought, when I am in that situation again on live TV, bowling for a title, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be myself no matter what, win or lose. I'm going to enjoy the moment. I'm going to slow things down and go when I'm ready, not feel rushed. I'm going to soak it all in and really focus on like maybe 2 physical things that I will do, all the things I didn't do. And so there I was in 2012. Well, no, that wasn't.
You won like every show you were on, right?
Well,
for quite some time.
But that one in particular, because it was live, I remember thinking to myself, and I was a 5th seed. I remember thinking, okay, like I saw a girl in the stands holding a sign that said Diandra rocks. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so cool. And no matter what, I got her. No matter what, win or lose, like she's going to be inspired. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go when I'm ready. If I can't catch my breath, then I'm not going to go. And I didn't care how many shot clock violations that I got. And I remember enjoying like being able to turn around and see my husband there with me. And I just enjoyed it. And I was myself. I was like, win or lose, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to look at my target. I'm going to watch my ball roll over it. I'm going to stay down, because that was something that I did under pressure a lot, is pull up at the line. And I won because I lost. I won because I lost. And I got 3 shot clock violations for $500 each. I didn't care. I didn't even care if I would have lost. I knew that I put myself in the best position to win, because
and I bet you if you would have lost, you wouldn't have been as devastated as you were that first time, right?
No, not even close.
Yeah.
And but I think that's important for people to know. Like, you don't get to just go to the top. You don't get to just achieve your goals. Like, the journey is the reason that you get there.
Right. Do you ever ask yourself, you learned that lesson, pretty well, pretty quickly. But do you ever ask yourself, how many titles would I have won if they had a women's tour when, between 03 and 15?
Yeah, I have thought about it. Like, I would think that I would have a chance for like the PWBA Hall of Fame. And I know that I won't, because I'm not committing my life to it. And so when I graduated college, I was so excited to go out on tour and bowl with bowlers that I enjoyed watching on TV, like Carolyn and Wendy and Leanne and Kim. And then I finally graduated. And then I was gone. And I was like, wait, what? Like, that was my plan. What am I going to do? And fortunately, there was Team USA. And Team USA filled that void for me. And if I look back and I had a chance to change things and I had a chance to bowl on a tour or do what I did, I don't know how I could choose to bowl on a tour, because traveling the world, competing for my country for most of my 20s, and to be able to submerge myself in cultures, and not only about the bowling and the winning and the medals, but meeting people along the way. I met Jason at the 2003 World Championships before anybody even knew him. And I joke with him. I'm like, remember that time at the World Championships where everybody knew me, but nobody knew you?
Well, you became the most famous woman bowler in the world. I mean,
well, right? And that was like my dream, right? When I was a kid, I wanted to be one of the best bowlers in the world. And for 3 years, I was voted World Bowler of the Year. And so if that's not a story of like small town girl with big dreams showing you or anyone that you could really do it, then I don't know what is. But at that time in 2003 at that World Championships, that was pivotal for me because I won the Masters event at that event. And then I won it back-to-back years. At the next World Championship, I won the Masters, which I'm not sure if anybody has at that time.
Uh-oh.
She'll be back.
She'll be back.
I'm back.
Okay.
Talking about Team USA and how important it was for me in my 20s, like I have such gratitude for the program and all the coaches that I've had. I had so many amazing coaches throughout those years, and I was able to see the world because of that program. And I feel so grateful for that opportunity to have done that. So if I think about the PWBA being gone when I graduated, do I wonder? I do wonder, but I don't regret it because I lived an amazing life and I did some really cool things, and I can't imagine it any other way. I'm glad it's back for the younger generation so that they don't have to wonder what to do, because at that time, if I was on Team USA, I couldn't be a professional bowler.
Right.
You had to choose.
Yeah.
And now it's changed, which is really great. So they can do both.
You mentioned Jason in that story, and I'm curious. I know when you guys started working on some things together, people don't remember this, but he was really struggling on television. He used to joke around that he doesn't win, he just finished his second. And I'm sure you had something to do with his development into the player that he is. What A, did you, and B, what makes him so great? There's a lot of great players out there, two-handers, high rev rates. Why is he so much better than everybody else?
That's a great question. To the first question, I think you should ask him that, because I'm not sure if I can answer that, but I will say that we became really great friends. We're best friends. We share something in common where we traveled the world before we were pros. We met there. I really have gotten to know his amazing wife, Kimberly, and his kids. And so our families are really close. And I remember in 2010, we started the International Art of Bowling, which was a coaching company that we traveled around doing clinics, and not anymore because obviously we're both really busy. But at that time, I really got to know him from a bowling standpoint, but also like how he was able to think. And in the early 2010s was about the time where he was emerging. And there were moments where I was watching the extra frame and at that time, and I was like, why does he look like he's trying to win during qualifying? Or towards the end, he was trying to, I could tell he was trying. And so I talked to him about it. I was like, look, because he's never really had a coach, and he's never really had a mental game coach. And so I was just trying to talking him through this. This was a fun show. This was like,
you stole a title from him.
I was pregnant on that show. Yeah, so I love telling this story because I tell him and Michelle ran away with this event, 500 pins above second place, and then Brian and I snuck into the show, climbed the ladder, and stole that $25,000 right out of his pocket and put it in mine. And
yeah,
somehow,
and didn't Brian make the 710 for you guys to make the show?
Yeah, actually.
And then you made that.
I would love to tell this story because
go ahead.
Yeah. This is a story that I just told in my Beyond the Lanes program, and it was really influential. And I pulled up the 710 win that you called.
Yeah. Well, I actually just shot the video of it.
Oh, well, no, because you can hear you chimed in.
Yeah, I did. They
because you're like, I know it's easy to say now, but I had a feeling he was going to make that. So
yeah.
Brian and I bowled this mixed doubles tournament, which for those that didn't know, this is an event where you don't get to pick your partner. You get paired up based on qualifying. So I get to bowl with a Hall of Fame bowler. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So Brian and I didn't really know each other that well, really bowled well together. He was very respectful. I learned a lot from him. And then we got to the match where it was right before, it was the position round to get on the show. And it was pretty close between a couple teams. It could have gone a couple different ways. We were bowling Tom Smallwood and Jody Westner. And I had a really good luck. And I struck a lot in that game. It was Baker. And in a very crucial frame towards the end of the game, I think it was the 8th frame, maybe 9th frame. I don't know, somewhere at the end. Was it the 7th frame?
Yeah, let's pull it up here.
Okay.
It's 8th frame for you guys.
8th frame. So he leaves a pocket 7-10. And let's see what happens. And I think what happened after this was most influential to me.
This was huge. I mean, you guys were up, I think, and then all of a sudden you leave the 7-10, and now you're down.
Yeah. And
Westner and Smallwood were dead lined up, and they were on a string of strikes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
No, they weren't. Never mind.
But it was close. They started.
Yeah, you missed this, and you guys were losing.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Slow roller.
So then what happened after this was mind blowing to me. We made the show, and that obviously helped us very much. We were interviewed by Randy Peterson, Rob Stone, and they asked Brian, you left this 7-10 in this really like inopportune moment. Like, what were you thinking when you left it? And he's like, I was thinking what I always think when I leave anything, that I was going to make it. And I was like, maybe that's why I've never made a 7-10. So I was like, wow, no matter what he leaves, his first thought is that he's going to make it. So what do you think my first thought was when I left that split on TV?
Yeah.
Was that I was going to make it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of the sport, right? Mm-hmm. Knocked all 10 down in 1 or 2 shots.
Right, but like our minds get in our own way.
Yeah.
Is what happens. And that's why he's Hall of Fame. He was able to figure that out early. And he really taught me a lot in that little moment. And it helped us right away. But then in the future, it's helped me too. That with doubting, we all doubt ourselves at some point. But if you doubt yourself, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't, especially at that level, you can't do it without confidence and believing in yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, because there'll be too many people that do have that confidence, and they're going to beat you.
Yep, totally.
It's at that level. We talked a little bit about Jason, and we had, skirted around the issue of why he's better. Oh, yeah. But is it all just meant? I mean, like, people don't realize he's not that much better than everybody else, but he wins all the time, right?
No, he's better.
So what is? I mean, if you just look at the averages, right? The tour average, like he's like maybe 1 or 2 pins better a game.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a lot, but then he wins. He wins Bowler of the Year almost every year.
Yeah, I think there was a time where we spent a lot of time at these coaching clinics together, and we were also doing presentations on the mental game. And it was funny because he'd never read a mental game book. And so I was kind of teaching him in the very beginning. He'll probably deny all of this. This is, we're like brother and sister. But there was a time where I said, we would have a conversation like, what's the most important frame of the game? And he could have an argument for like the 10th frame or the 9th frame. I'm like, okay, so you try harder in the 9th frame than you would in the 1st frame. He's like, well, yeah. I was like, think about that. And so I think what I did was give him another way to look at things. And I said, the most important frame in the game is the one that you're in.
Right.
That is, because you can't control what happened. You can't control what's going to happen. You can control what is happening. And I remember watching him on the extra frame shows. And after the block, he would get there and then at the end not get there. And I said, what is happening? Like, why does it look like you're really trying to win? You can't win yet. You don't try to win. Win is something that happens when you put everything together. You can't go up there and try to strike. No good bowler goes up there and says, all right, I'm going to strike on this shot. No, you focus on the process. Right. You slide here, you hit this, you put yourself in the position to knock down the pins. And if you do that, then that happens. But he was doing it backwards in the beginning. And he has so much confidence that I feel like a lot of the success that came before that was literally just he walks in a bowling center and he thinks he's going to win every single time. And then he does because he thinks it and the others don't.
Right.
And now he's bowling against bowlers that are really good and have done this for a while and get it. And it was harder to win in the beginning. And then I feel like he just one day understood. He's like, in order to win, you have to really not try. You can't try. You focus. He never knew what he was looking at. Even if it was a little bit of an area, he just didn't know because his ball's so powerful. He really didn't have to narrow his focus as much. Yeah. But I think I pushed him to narrow it and see how good you could be if you actually focus more on the process. And I cannot take any of the credit from any amazing thing he's done. But I do know that those conversations must have been a little bit influential. And that's why I have felt so much a part of his successes too, that I saw that journey. And I saw how it wasn't really that easy. People think it was easy because he wins so much now, but he has kind of gone through some stuff that he had to work out.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense because, like I have conversations with my kids. My two sons, they're in theater, right, at school. They're not into sports. I tried my best, tried to get them into bowling. They just wouldn't do it. But they are in theater. And one of them is he wants it so badly, right? He's a theater major in college now. But the other son, he is a very talented singer, and he takes voice lessons, and he's very interested in the process of becoming a better singer. He doesn't have a huge amount of confidence. But my son, all throughout high school, my older son, never got a lead in a play because all he thought about was getting a lead in the play. And the other one, all he thought about was how to be a better singer, and he's getting leads left and right.
Yeah. And
so it's just interesting that the other one has no interest in getting a lead, but he gets all the leads. And the other one, couldn't get out of his own way because that's all he wanted. It's
sometimes really the focus is just in the wrong place. And if you shift your focus, then you get there. But if you're always obsessed over winning, the actual winning of it, you have no control over your opponent. But you have control over what you can do. And so focusing on the process, just like your son, if you would just keep showing up.
Right.
Keep showing up. The best version of yourself every single time.
The funny thing is my younger son has no idea that's why he's getting leads.
Exactly. And ignorance is bliss.
So, Jason, I'm sure for him, he actually had to have that awareness of I need to not care in order to do better.
Yep.
And that's hard to do. Right?
Yeah, but if the ones that figure it out get there most often.
Yeah. I'm interested in the two-handed game. If you go out to junior gold now, half the boys' field is two-handers.
Yeah, my tour too.
You see a few girls doing it. But when do you think we're going to see a PWBA tour champion as a two-hander?
I think we will. I don't know when, but I think what Jason did was he not only showed us a different way to do something well, he showed us that there's not one way to do something right. And when I had my kids, my Madden, who's almost 10 now, bowls in my elite youth tour, which is amazing for me to see. But when he was a kid and he started walking and he started bowling, he bowled 5 different ways. He bowled righty, he bowled two-handed, he bowled putting his right hand in it, but bowling lefty. And I didn't touch it. I was just like, you do you. What feels best? What do you want to do? And he was close to Jason. Like since he was born, he knew him and we watched him. We've been rooting him on. So I thought he might be a two-handed bowler. And that would have been fine. But he decided that he was going to just be a one-handed right-handed bowler. But at one point I thought, how do I feel about him putting his right hand in it and bowling two-handed lefty?
Yeah.
But who am I to say that that's wrong?
Yeah. Like Simonson's doing.
Yeah. Well, It wasn't it was weird. Cause it wasn't like because Simon, yeah, I guess so. It doesn't look like he's backing it up though.
It doesn't. He looks like a natural shot.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Yeah, that I guess
insane.
it's similar to that. But it's just opened my mind, and I think a lot of other people too. When I coach people, if somebody wants to keep a backup ball and that's what they want to do, I'm not going to change them. If they want to change, I'm happy to help them. But who am I to say that something is right or something is wrong? Now, if you're falling off every single shot, I'm going to be like, you shouldn't do that. 100%. You should.
Our little short break.
This is
Aaron.
true.
Yep.
I'm back. Okay. I think that there's some non-negotiables in bowling. Like, I'm not going to tell somebody that falls off every shot that it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
That's you. No, you can do better. You can have better balance and you can be stronger at the line. And
I mean, Sean Maldonado does it, and he's decent.
He does it the same every single shot.
Yeah. Do you think if he stopped doing that, he'd win a title?
Yeah, I think he's good enough to stop doing that and win a title. I think he's also good enough to do that and win a title.
Yeah, true.
So it's I'm not talking about a pro doing it. I'm talking about like most bowlers that kind of get lazy, lose their balance, and fall off. He hops.
Yeah.
He doesn't fall off.
True.
Yeah.
True. I think we have a really good question from the audience, Aaron. There
Wow.
you go.
You don't have a girlfriend, so how can you go on? I'm not sure if he's asking me or if he just wants my advice.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, I think he was. That question came up when we were talking about not thinking about the process. So I think that might be the answer,
just
right?
be you. Be you. Show
Don't
up.
think about it. Don't
Just
think
show
about
up
it.
authentically and genuinely, and be you 100%, and the girls will just keep coming.
Beyond bowling, things that you learn about life from bowling, right?
Yeah. Right.
What's the difference between your game now and when you were, in your prime, bowling all the time?
Yeah. Well, in my 20s, it was everything. It was my everything. It was my world. It was my focus. I was super, super selfish because you have to be the best.
Right.
You have to be selfish. You have to put yourself first, and you have to put in the hard work and literally every single day. And you have to figure things out. You have to continue to keep learning. You have to find the right coaches, and it's all about you. It was like me. And it's not like that anymore. So I think it's imperative to be that way when you're trying to get to the top, but then I'm not anymore. I'm not trying to get to the top. That doesn't mean I don't think I can win, because I do, especially with the coaches that I have around me and the equipment, Storm equipment, and all the sponsors that I have. Like, they boost me up to have a chance. But I also know that I'm not bowling every single day like Danielle McEwen or a Diana or Verity, who really, that was me out of college. That was me. I was like striving to prove myself and to be on top and to be the best. And now I'm not selfish at all. Now it's all about, what can I do for others? How can I use my experiences that I've learned along the way to influence and affect and change lives? And for me, that's super empowering. To me, that means more than any title that I've ever won. And the moment, I thought that was the most important thing in my life. And I've realized that only got me here. That got me to a place where I can now kind of use that to push other people forward, whether it's youth bowlers or non-bowlers or companies or whatever. The biggest difference between my game then and my game now is that I still care about bowling a lot. I still work on my game. I was ready to go out on tour. I was so ready. My Storm equipment was on point. I was ready to bowl about a little over half the stops, and before the quarantine happened in March, and then bowling centers literally just opened up here in Illinois. So I think to answer your question, I was very selfish, and now it's much more about how I can serve the bowling community.
And you've certainly done that. And we've talked to many aspects about the Elite Youth Tour and the, just giving back to everything. And I know Jason, I believe, has a clip queued up here. We're going to kind of transition to, talking about the changes in your game. You did make a show a couple of years ago in Detroit in 2017. What was it like being back on that TV environment, of course? And, you mentioned a few of those young players, the Verdis, the Darias, and getting to, lace up with them in this moment.
Yeah, it was like I was the old one. I was the old bowler on this show.
The old bowler.
I was.
Well, I mean, okay. I guess that gets back to the other question. I guess it's probably just sharpness, right? I mean, like, you still know how to win. Like, if you get a look that you liked, I mean, you made the show. And it reminded me of, like, Tiger Woods, after he won the Masters, and he talked about, now my kids know that I'm not just a YouTube golfer. And, you got your kids actually got to see you.
Yeah, that was so special that my kids were in the back. I think the difference is, like, they are trying to do what I did. They were trying to be the world's best. They don't have a family to juggle. They, a lot of them don't have, jobs to worry about. They can focus all their attention on their game, and that's why they're so great, right? And then there I am as a mom who really, I do believe in my my game, and I feel like my game is a timeless game where it's very fundamentally sound. I'm always working on it, but if I have the right ball and I'm doing
not exactly a great break there.
I know. If I'm doing the right thing in the right part of the lane, I think I could beat anybody.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. People were talking about Tiger never winning again, and I said, hey, if his back's okay, and he can hit the ball, he can still win because he knows how to win. And I think that's what how to win.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got out there and you felt good and you got a nice little look and something you like to do, you could definitely still snap off a win.
Thanks,
right?
Chase. I'll dedicate my next win to your confidence in me. Jason Thomas said I could do it, so I did it.
Why do you think you bowled a lot on Team USA with Shannon O'Keefe, and she was a good bowler for a long time, but she had never really won anything. Why do you think she's become so great?
I think that before, like when I was sort of traveling the world competing, she was a good bowler. I remember seeing her on the women's tour when I was like end of college. I would go out there and bowl like as a non-member, and I think she was giving it a go at that time. I always feel like she was kind of focused on her job, and bowling was second. And I feel like when we got to know each other, that's sort of how it was, where she was a really good bowler, but she also had a job that she cared about a lot too. So she was serious about that. And it's really hard to divide your focus and conquer the world, right? Yeah. So now she's able to put a huge priority in her game, and her job is in bowling.
Right.
And so she's coaching. And when you're coaching, you're getting better yourself. And so she's constantly putting things into the universe, tips, and helping people. And subconsciously, it's, helping her. And maybe she realizes that, maybe she doesn't. But I feel like that is like the biggest difference is now. And also, I feel like she's one of the most driven bowlers out there. I think that she's the type of person that wants to see what she's capable of. And she pushes herself more than anyone, and she practices her heart out, and she, takes her fitness very seriously. And that's why she wins, because she's so driven to win. She's great.
Are you surprised that she's the one that's kind of emerged as the greatest player with this new? I mean, because everybody said Liz and Kelly were going to win everything, right? And the first 3 years Liz did, but Kelly she's only won once. Are you surprised that it was Shannon that's kind of emerged as the superstar?
Knowing Shannon and knowing that she's actually a little bit like crazy, and you have to be a little bit crazy to be dominant. Just like anybody, think about anybody. Michael Jordan was crazy.
Great opportunity to reference The Last Dance here.
I mean, if you haven't seen it,
No, I've seen it. It's amazing. Everybody should see it. Yeah.
But I think, you know what, that's the honest truth. Like Shannon is a little crazier than Liz and Kelly from the perspective of like obsessing over getting better and learning and repeating. And like and I mean that in the best way. That's why she wins. You know, like this is not a knock at all. Like if people want to understand why Shannon O'Keefe is dominant, it's because she is obsessing over the process more than anybody else out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's interesting, JT, that you brought that up because we talked about Belmo kind of learning how to win out on tour. Obviously, Shannon has found that and has just continued to steamroll. You know, you look at a player like Dasha last year kind of making the leap. D, who's kind of the player you see next in that role who's, you know, obviously has, you know, everyone out there has this talent, the skill, but who's just waiting for that big win to just start steamrolling in your opinion?
Verity.
I like it.
She's the one. I mean, there'll be a lot but Diana will win a lot. Daria will win a lot. But Verity, when she figures out how to win and it's right around the corner, she's going to be really hard to beat. Because she has that like mental attitude where she's a lot like, I feel like a lot like me bowling. She doesn't get overexcited and she doesn't get overly down. She's very constant. And in order to put yourself in the best position every single time, you have to have that like sort of even keel attitude and how to manage your emotions. And I know that she does that really well. And it's just not time yet.
I believe 4 runner-up finishes for her so far. So yes, she is.
Oh, really?
She is literally knocking on the door as much as anyone can.
Yeah, that's so that is 4 of them, huh? Yeah, that's.
And she's bowled some huge games to lose those titles too.
Because she knows how to control her emotions. So that's the thing. Like she didn't lose them. She got out bowled. You know, there's a difference. I lost the 2007 Queens. I did not get out bowled. I just sucked. But you know, without that, do I win? I don't know. It's easy to think that maybe not. Maybe I don't learn all those lessons to get that major in my career, towards the end of my career. I don't know. Maybe Verity just really needs a really bad showing to learn. And then.
Well, I mean, it happened with Shannon, right? I mean, she just got stomped on by Liz and Kelly those whole 12 years while, you know, there was no tour. And then, you know, she continued to get stomped on by Liz for a while. And then she beat her. And then it was over.
Mm-hmm.
All the titles just started coming. Once she beat Liz that first time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's totally true. There's a lot of really great talent on the PWBA, and it's so fun for me to be out there and to see it. You know, people are like, oh, are you jealous that, you know, you're not in that position anymore? And I'm really not, because I've had an amazing career in bowling and I'm so grateful for it. But to be able to see the Darias and the Dashas and the Dianas and Julia Bonds and Gigi's, I'm excited for them. I can't wait to watch their career unfold and to see them just like become themselves. And it's amazing. And it just keeps getting better because college bowling keeps getting stronger. And there's better college coaches, and high school bowling is getting better. And so high school is going to make college better. College is going to get, you know, the professional ranks stronger. So good for you guys for doing the right thing, setting them all up.
And I also think, you know, one of the biggest kept secrets in bowling is how much money there is at the college level for athletes to go to school. Scholarship money. You know, when people ask me, you know, or they tell me that there's no money in bowling, I just point them to the college game. And I say, you know, there's millions of dollars in scholarships available, you know, for your kids. So you should be definitely involving in your kids in bowling. And, you know, you're one of the people that gives out a big chunk of that.
Yeah, I know. And I think people that don't bowl are really surprised. Like when I meet, whatever, like my neighbors here that don't bowl, they are just like, you can bowl in college? And I was like, yeah, I got a full ride scholarship to the University of Nebraska, which is a really great like academic school, but also athletic school. And so there's the NCAA portion of it, but also the money that you can earn as a youth bowler that will help you through school. I think if people knew that, there might be more bowlers. There might be more youth, because my friends that I have a lot of friends in Chicago that don't bowl, and I always give their kids bowling balls for their birthday. And I was like, you should really look into maybe getting them into a league, because there's a lot of money. It could really, college is getting more expensive. So, I'm always like plugging that route.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to get my kids into it, but they just
didn't. They're like, no,
I wouldn't do it. No. I think one more topic. We've gone an hour and 16 minutes. Man, it goes by fast, doesn't it?
Very fast.
Wanted to get your take on the PWBA being involved in the PBA League. There's going to be 2 women's teams that they're going to have a draft tomorrow. What do you think about that? What do you think our chances are? Meaning PWBA. I'm speaking with my PWBA hat on, not my male hat. I'm rooting for the women,
as you should.
What do you think about the whole thing, and what do they need to do to beat the men?
Wow, you really set her up for the question.
I know, man. Yeah.
I think it's amazing. And I thank the PBA for finally realizing that women should be in the league. And I cannot wait to see the women beat the men, because that'll be a whole other issue. And then all of a sudden the women won't be allowed. This is making their bowlers look bad. I think that the women truly do have an advantage in the sense of, they can play together, I think, more easily as far as how they're breaking down the lane and together. And I feel like emotionally, women could possibly have it together a little tighter. Like they've got their emotions under control a little bit better. I think men obviously they're going to have the more power, but depends on what they put out, right? So they might put out a pattern that will suit the women, but no matter who's on that team, they 100% have a chance to win the league. I wish I was a coach. Maybe when they add another team, they'll add me as a coach.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, tough question. If you have the first pick.
Oh, man. Ooh. Oh, gosh. Liz.
Yeah,
I like it.
You can't not pick the greatest of all time, right?
Yeah. Is Liz your greatest of all time?
Yeah.
She is?
She is.
Yeah.
I mean,
why do you say her, not Lisa Wagner?
Oh, I mean, that's hard. I would have to compare them, because, Lisa Wagner was my idol when I was like 8. Like I watched her and she inspired me. And I remember meeting her and getting her autograph. I don't remember every single thing she won, but Liz, bowling with her and seeing her win everything, it's just fresher. So it's easier to say that she was the greatest of all time. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, it's hard because, Lisa Wagner, I think, retired early.
Oh.
She probably could have won another 10 or 15 more titles.
Mm-hmm.
But Liz didn't have 12 years of her career to rack up more titles.
Right.
So I think it's between those two, personally. But,
yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I was able to bowl with some of my idols on Team USA, like Wendy McPherson and Kim Kearney and Leanne Hulsenberg, people that I literally remember as a little girl watching on TV thinking, if I get to choose how I bowl, I want to hook the ball like Leanne. Mm-hmm. Like if it's my choice, and it was, I was so inspired by those women. And so and to be able to say that I bowled on the same team as them is It's so amazing. And even like Kelly was my first, it was the first time I ever saw an American woman win a medal, a gold medal at the 1999 World Championships in Abu Dhabi. It was my first international tournament. And I learned there that I had a lot to learn, but I remember watching her on the top pedestal. And I remember how I felt listening to the national anthem. And that was like my first experience on that level. And I remember thinking, I want to feel what that feels like. And so thanks to amazing competitors like Kelly, I was able to. And hopefully I did that for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, they're inspirational. I mean, what Kelly's done, I mean, there's no more inspirational story you'll find in sports than what she accomplished, bowling and PBA events.
Yeah.
Right. And just the fact to have her on tour, I think is it gives young girls someone to look up to for sure.
It's a huge win, and I think that what I can say about all those women on tour that I get to cross with, like, they're also kind, and I think it's really important that people know that even though you see somebody competing and they might look serious, they're in the very, very vast majority of everybody on tour I would go to dinner with. They are so kind, and they take time out for their fans, and they turn around and they acknowledge them. And I just think I'm proud to be in that group of stand up women.
Well, we definitely count you in that group.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Aaron, you got any other questions?
I got a few more. We talked about, you mentioned getting to bowl with Lisa Wagner as a young 8-year-old from Dyer, Indiana. And I'm from nearby Highland, Indiana. We're region rats. So, obviously I always like to bring things back home if I can. So for you growing up in Northwest Indiana, rank your 3 favorite bowling centers.
Ooh, that's pretty easy. Stardust Bowl 3 in Dyer, Indiana is where I learned how to bowl. I remember not being able to see over the counter. Like all the counter people could see was my fingertips, because I couldn't even get my head up there. And I just brought my youth tour back there. I think it was January this year, which was a super crazy, emotional event for me, because looking at this bowling center, knowing that's where my dreams were born, and to be able to look at my youth tour and tell them that I was just like you. I was bowling tournaments just like this. This is where I spent every single night from 9:30 to midnight, every night, every school night. And that was really cool. So Stardust Bowl 3, I would say Plaza Lanes has a special place in my heart. That has to be close to where you live, right? That's in Highland.
Very close. That was my home center. So
wow.
Yeah. So I would bowl Saturday morning league at Stardust, and then I would go to Plaza to bowl my
double
second
shift.
Saturday.
Let's go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was serious. And I would say the third one, it was Stardust Bowl 1. It's not there anymore in Hammond, I don't think.
It has closed down, unfortunately.
Yeah, but if we weren't at Stardust 3 practicing every night, my sister and I with my dad, we were at Stardust 1 because my coach, Dick Tucker, lived in Hammond and would meet us there nightly.
And that kind of leads into a follow-up from that. And, we've talked a lot about the dedication. You talked about, essentially having to be selfish to work your way up to the top, but, you have to have a great support system around you. And you kind of mentioned it there with your dad, but I just know that's always a great story for folks to hear, kind of those late nights trying to, become the greatest bowler in the world, as you said, and those 9:30 to close shifts and stuff like that during the week. And
you guys, it was actually absurd. As a mom now, I'm like, what were you thinking? That my mom and dad let me bowl on a school night every night. And the reason why it was late, because I tell them when I do my speaking or any events that I have, I tell the story of what it was like when I was a kid. And I'm not promoting late night bowling, but I am promoting practice and that you get out what you put in, because my life in middle school and high school, I would come home from school. My mom would make me take a 2-hour nap. I would get my homework done. My dad would come home, lay down for a little bit, have dinner, and we couldn't get a lane until the leagues were over. And the leagues ended at 9:30. So every single night from 9:30 to midnight. And then some nights we went to breakfast at a restaurant. What? Why was that okay? I don't know, but that was just so normal. When I was that age, it was so normal. So it wasn't weird. But now just like reflecting back to like, if that was my kid, how would that make me feel? It's super weird. But I learned at a really young age that you do get out what you put in. You know, when I first started bowling at 5, it was fun. And my sister is 3 years older than me. So she got into it more serious than me earlier. And then I saw that she started winning things. And I was like, well, I want to win things. I see that she's putting in more work. She's practicing more. Maybe I'll practice more and I'll start winning some things. And so it was. I put in more time. I got more serious. And about 12, I realized that I kind of could take it somewhere. And then I started developing my goals. But my sister was influential when I was a kid to show me the way. And I'm so glad that I had her footsteps to fall into. And I really was known as Cassie's little sister for a lot of my childhood because she did it all. She won the Alberta Crow Star of Tomorrow. And then I was like, I would like to win that. So then I did. And so, you know, do I get to all those places without someone that I'm looking up to? Maybe not. But defining moment in my life was when I decided what college to go to. And I could have gone to Wichita State University where Cassie was. And I love, hi, Mike.
My guy, Mike.
I love this.
Coach.
Yeah.
As long as I got up for school.
Yeah, that's right. That's the same. As long as my grades were up and I always got good grades. So that wasn't, I didn't want it to influence my practice. But
I would imagine that if you didn't love it so much, they probably would have stopped taking you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think people thought that they forced us. But I never went if I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
They just enabled us.
Right.
They were the reason why we could. But when I was choosing colleges, I could have went where my sister went for 1 year and bowled with her, or I could become Diandra. And so that's what I chose. I was like, okay, NCAA, they had just turned NCAA at Nebraska. I wouldn't be Cassie's little sister. Actually, my first year of college, we won the national collegiate championship, team trial, or what do they call it? ITC? In our team championships. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's been a while, you guys. And Nebraska won in Wichita.
Wow.
And that is, I think, that's where I became Diandra. That was a really big turning point in my career that I actually did something that my sister hadn't done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But my dad took us to practice. My mom made sure that, you know, we were good students and allowed my dad to take us. And my sister was instrumental in having somebody to look up to. So my family, my grandma Betty got me started. She got me my first ball when I was 5. She pinned a ladybug on my collar, my bowling collar, every time I bowled for good luck. And it's still on every jersey I have, a little ladybug. She was so inspiring to me as a kid. So I'm very fortunate to have had the family and the upbringing that I've had.
There we go. Northwest Indiana.
Let's represent.
We did it.
You know, I know I haven't ever been on this show before, but I know there is a custom that you guys would give your binge watch recommendation.
Oh, man.
So I think we have to do that, right?
Oh, man.
That is the usual final question.
Yeah.
I would say I don't have enough time to watch TV, but you know I'd be lying because I've been home a lot. All right. We love watching This Is Us, but it hasn't been on, so I haven't been binge watching it. My husband and I are currently watching Surviving Escobar, which probably would surprise people. And also it's a lot of work because it's all in subtitles.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So it's not super relaxing because I have to pay attention. You can't do anything else when you're watching that show. But it's amazing that there's only one season, but it's like 60 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. There are some guilty pleasures that I'm kind of embarrassed to even admit, but since we're friends, I feel like I should. So I binge watched.
There's
We
actually
lost
time
it.
for
I will say that all movies that
Did
we
you
watch
hear
in
it?
my house. No, we didn't hear it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, go ahead.
It's a little bit cringeworthy, but I'm going to tell you because we're friends that I binge watched Love is Blind.
What's that?
Oh God, it is like a train wreck. Like you can't, it's horrible, but you just can't like look away. But you won't, I mean, you will not be into it. Love is Blind, where a whole bunch of people are in these pods and they can't see the person they're talking to. And they go on all of these like literally blind dates because they can't see the other person, but they get to know each other. It's kind of how my husband and I met through AOL Instant Messenger.
Okay.
Oh,
We never really saw each other, but we just communicated.
Is it like a speed dating reality show, or
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
But then it could lead to actually like marriages, and
it is a reality show though?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. You do
Okay.
then see they choose who they want based on their pod dates, and then they are together, and then they go on vacation together and get to know each other in like physical form, and then it's a train wreck. But I'm being honest, I've watched it.
Yeah.
Okay, don't judge me.
Well,
Also,
I'm not going to judge you because one of the binge watch things that my kids have been watching is Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I don't know how I failed as a parent enough to allow that to transpire under my house.
Man.
Yeah.
My other guilty pleasure is The Bachelor. And I started watching The Bachelor when I was in college. And I think it's because it's so far from my life that I just like to live in that world for that 2 hours every week and forget about everything else in my life and just see what other people's lives and their problems are. And it makes me feel better about my life. Okay, there you go. What are you guys binge watching? You have to answer it.
Again, I'm just trying to get my up to 100 on that list of all-time greatest movies. That's really my binge watch, but I don't really binge it. Like I don't have time to watch enough of them.
Yeah.
And some of them are hard to get. Some of them like you have to order them on Amazon, and it's hard to find. So anyway, that's kind of mine. But I will reiterate, Keeping Up with the Kardashians is on. There's so many episodes, and sometimes I'll just have to close the door of my office. So I can't. Yeah. Because I need my IQ to stay up so I can do my job.
You're getting it's a struggle. Aaron?
JT, not holding back there. All right.
Yeah.
My proudest accomplishment during quarantine is watching The Wire, which I shamefully did not do when it was fresh in the 2000s. So I've really enjoyed that. There's a new podcast out that like breaks down every episode as well. So I've been checking that out. I actually bought a book over the weekend, which is scary in its own right. That was like a telling of how it was made. So
wait, tell me about it.
It's considered the greatest TV show ever made.
The Wire. Well, then why haven't I heard of it?
Yeah, it's kind of an artsy fartsy thing.
I'm into that.
Right? So it's not it's like documentary style, but it's a drama.
Where do you find it?
It's an HBO series.
Oh.
It is on Hulu though.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm checking it out, Aaron, and then we can talk about it.
There we go. Yes, it's 5 seasons, but have enjoyed it very much. Got through it. Like I said, the podcast is coming up now. That's been that guilty pleasure.
That's cool.
I'm
rewatching the first season of Jersey Shore. So
no!
There we go.
I have no words.
I think my kids are going to watch that one next.
Listen, when that show was out, I got pregnant with Jersey, and John and I had a serious conversation. I'm just like, do you think that I'm like, we
It's a
really
bad idea.
wanted to name her Jersey, but do you think that people are just going to call her Jersey Shore? Because that was like the most talked about show at the time. And I'm like, no, it has to die.
Yeah, hasn't it died? Hasn't it died? It's dead.
I mean, technically, there's still versions of it going on. Like I really kind of got out of it after the early portions of it, but I think it kind of goes along the same line as the Bachelor reference you made, Diandra. So I'm living in a world that I'm not used to or will never see probably. So I enjoy taking it in that way.
That's right. You enjoy it.
I will.
Yeah, my kids have no idea who Snooki is and who.
Good.
And I'm so glad for that.
Yes, good. My husband and Madden have been watching. They started watching Lost. I never watched.
Oh
it.
yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite TV show ever.
Yeah, it's your favorite?
Yeah, ever.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
they started
it's
the
best
beginning.
network TV show ever made.
Yeah, they just finished it yesterday, and Madden told me today that they decided on their next show together because every night they'll watch an episode together, which is super cute. And I think they're gonna watch The Good Doctor. Have you guys seen that?
Oh yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
Kid friendly?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I might not be the right person. I once showed my kids Stand By Me.
Okay.
Because I remember that being a good kids movie, right?
Well,
and
I'm telling you,
it's like all swearing.
Listen, the movies that when I was a kid, like Uncle Buck, that was like PG. It's not PG.
No.
Or even The Sandlot. Madden is so into baseball that, when he was probably like 6, I'm like, yeah, you could watch The Sandlot.
Yeah.
There's language in that.
No, yeah, it's just like Stand By Me. It's like, oh, that's a kid. That's a bunch of kids. It's a good kids movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like F this and S that.
No, that's where I was like, look, you can watch this, but if I hear you say any of these words, you just can't watch things like this anymore. And he never did because he really wanted to watch.
But like, can you shut the movie off? Like once you already started it? Can you go, oh, no, sorry, guys. They're into the movie now.
I know. No, you can't. That's why I said you can watch this, but bad words now. Yeah. So if you know it's a bad word and you choose to say it, then I'm going to have to change what you're watching. But I've never had an issue with either of them. Even Jersey at 6, like she knows bad words, but she's okay. Thanks. Hey, Josh. I haven't seen Josh in so long. I hope you're doing good, buddy.
But he didn't say if it was kid appropriate.
I know. I have to do a little Google search.
All right, I think with that, this might be a new podcast length record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
sorry, not
no,
sorry.
It was good. It was great. It was probably my fault because I have all these tangents I want to talk about, but it was fun.
Okay, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun to chat with you and spill the beans of my life and everything that I don't get to talk about very much. So thanks.
Well, good luck with everything you've got going on.
Thank you.
I hope it's successful. If there's anything we can do to help, let us know.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you guys, too. You're doing a great job. Bowling's lucky to have you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Nope.
Oh, we're fighting over the remove button.
That was an awesome show, JT. Very inspirational. As you know, when Diandra's talking about wanting to be able to go out into the corporate world and public world and deliver these speeches, you can see why she would be so great at it. I can go back, our ties into the Northwest Indiana. She gave a speech at the Greater Calumet USBC Hall of Fame banquet one year at the Dynasty Banquet right across from Olympia Lanes, and even that was probably 6-7 years ago now. But even then, you could see that she just had it. There's a certain you have to kind of have that presence, and she 100% has it. So for me, there's a lot of sitting back and taking it in. It was super awesome, and obviously we talked a lot. So that was
yeah. No, I mean, for me, it was just she's had such an interesting career because. She didn't have the tour to bowl. I mean, that got taken away from her just as she was ready to do it. And then she still became the most famous woman bowler in the world. And so to me, that just shows you, what a successful person, she is, and I think a lot of it has to do with her attitude. she gets it. She understands, how the process works, how the process of becoming successful works. And, it's nice to see her giving back and passing that on to, the younger generation. It's just the type of person you need to have, if you're going to perpetuate this cycle of bowling continuing. So, it was great to hear from her. I look forward to the stuff she's going to do, and I still wouldn't put it past her to win a title out on the tour.
100%. And I think one of the things that probably gets lost by some folks who may have gotten into the sport, seriously, obviously the PWBA tour coming back in 2015 brought a lot of light on the women's game once again, as it rightly should be. But I think there's probably quite a few folks out there who didn't quite realize the superstar that Diandra was as part of Team USA for the early portion of the 2000s. She was on the team for 15 years, I believe. Basically won medals, gold, and every conceivable event, World Cup champion, World Championships. But yes, it was super awesome show. And, we're going to keep the Cornhusker thing going later in the week. Our 2019 PWBA Tour Rookie of the Year, Valerie Bercier, is going to be joining us on Wednesday. I know we talked about the PBA League offering 2 new PWBA teams. There's going to be some stuff on PWBA.com coming up in a little bit later today. The draft's tomorrow. We're going to have some follow-ups on that. And you know what, folks? Maybe even look out for an extra edition of the podcast, too. So, JT, we've hit an hour 40.
Yeah, it's a new record.
I need something to drink, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here. But big thanks to everyone for joining us once again here on BowlTV.com, YouTube, the Bowl TV YouTube channel, PWBA Facebook, USBC Facebook. So for Jason Thomas, I'm Aaron Smith. For our special guest today, Diandra Asbaty. Big thank you to all. And we'll see you Wednesday. Take care, everybody.